Okay, this report is different. A Canadian citizen living in the US for 40 years on a green card gets stopped at the border and denied entry back into the US. At first, I was ready to defend him. I watched the video, and yeah, for a while I felt sympathy, but then he said something, and the second I heard it, my sympathy was gone. He got exactly what he deserved. I'm not going to spoil it for you, so let's take a look.
One of President Donald Trump's initiatives is to strengthen the border. A man with a green card that has lived in New Hampshire for 40 years recently had a problem coming back home from his yearly trip to Canada.
He was blocked at the Maine border and says this has never happened to him before. Michael Rosenfield reports.
I'm a legal resident green card holder. I have been since 1981.
Chris Landry has lived in New Hampshire since he was 3 years old. He has a partner, 5 children, and a job in manufacturing. He was stopped at the border in Holton, Maine on Sunday while returning from a family vacation to Canada.
They pulled me aside and started questioning me about my past convictions in New Hampshire.
3 hours later, the 46-year-old was told he couldn't come home despite having a green card and being a legal U.S. resident. He spoke to us from New Brunswick, Canada.
They denied me re-entry and said, don't come back or we will detain you. And the only way for me to get back in was to see an immigration judge.
In 2004 and 2007, Landry faced charges of marijuana possession and driving with a suspended license, but says he's had no criminal record since. He was given a suspended sentence and paid his fines.
All right, let me pause it right here. This guy's been living in the US since 1981, went over to the US when he was just 3 years old. And my first question is simple. In 44 years, before any convictions, did it never cross your mind to apply for US citizenship? Now let's talk about those convictions. You're responsible. It's on your record. That's not up for debate. And this is the first time you've been stopped at the border? No surprise there, considering what's going on at the borders. That's the result of who's in the White House now. To me, you weren't targeted. You were just lucky all those years in the past, until now.
I never thought that would threaten my status as a resident of the United States.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection telling us in a statement, possessing a green card is a privilege, not a right, and under our nation's laws, our government has the authority to revoke a green card if our laws are broken and abused. Lawful permanent residents presenting at a U.S. port of entry with previous criminal convictions may be subject to mandatory detention and/or may be asked to provide additional documentation to be set up for an immigration hearing.
Just very uncertain for me right now. I might end up spending the rest of my life in Canada, and who knows.
Spend the rest of your life in Canada. He says that like it's some kind of punishment or downgrade. This guy was born in Canada. He holds a Canadian passport. But it's clear he doesn't see himself as Canadian. He doesn't want to be here. And that's what gets me. If you've lived in the US for decades, if you built your life there, and if you really don't want to be in Canada, then why didn't you take the steps to become a US citizen? That choice was yours. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my stance on this.
Also, if I'll ever even have the right to re-enter the United States at this point.
Landry, who lives in Peterborough, New Hampshire, was with 3 of his children when he was stopped at the border. The children will make their way home in the days ahead. Landry says he goes to Canada at least once a year and has never had a problem until now. Why do you think this time it's a problem?
Because of the new administration and their new policies.
As a Canadian citizen, he couldn't vote for president, but he did support Donald Trump.
I was definitely, all for Make America Great Again. And
there it is. This is why I have zero sympathy for this Canadian. If you had the right to vote, you stated you would have voted for Donald. And by supporting him, you walked straight into this mess. Did he make America great again for you? The warning signs were everywhere, but you either ignored them or you thought you'd be safe because you backed him and because you looked the part. You weren't smart enough to see that his policies could come for you, not just the migrants from Mexico. This situation, it's not bad luck. It's the outcome of your own choices.
And having a strong, unified country and a bright future for my 5 American children. But now I feel a little differently.
You only feel differently now because it actually affected you, not because it's a shitty policy altogether. You thought Trump would bring unity, a better life for your kids, all the promises his supporters and you clung to. But now it's real. Now you're learning that Donald's policies don't just hit the Mexican cartel and drug dealers you thought they would. They hit everyone, including his own supporters. This guy's been pleading his case all over New Hampshire media. Let's check out another one.
I never expected that I wouldn't be able to go back home.
Chris Landry took a trip to Canada like he's done for the last 40 years. Only this time, he couldn't get back home to New Hampshire.
I felt like I was being treated like a criminal.
Well, technically you are. Let's clear something up. A suspended sentence doesn't erase the fact that you were found guilty. It just means the sentence was delayed. But the conviction? That's real. You're still a criminal in the eyes of the law. The punishment might be paused, but the record isn't.
The 46-year-old legal U.S. resident, who is a Canadian national, was denied entry at the border in Maine this weekend. He says he was held for 3 hours with 2 of his 5 children and turned back to Canada over old misdemeanor offenses tied to marijuana and a suspended license from 2004 and 2007.
It's really a living nightmare.
Court documents show he was convicted of the drug-related offenses and received 2 60-day jail sentences that were suspended.
Convicted. That's the key word here. It's on his record. It's permanent. And under the Donald administration, that makes him a target. No matter how long he's lived in the U.S., if he supports Donald or the color of his skin. But if he had taken the steps to become a U.S. citizen before all this, chances are he wouldn't be in this situation right now. And let's be real, he sure as hell doesn't want to be Canadian.
I went to court, paid my fines.
Landry has reached out to members of the state's congressional delegation for help.
There is a standard protocol we go through to try to see if there are ways we can be of assistance.
This while his family here in Peterborough connects with him virtually as they wait for answers.
We need him here. I need him here. He's my support.
Landry says he's not giving up and is determined to hug his family again in the Granite State.
But we're going to get through it one way or another. We're going to be together again. So, I love you girls.
We've reached out to U.S. Customs and Border Protection for comment, but so far we have not received a response.
The reality is, you're not getting a call back from CBP. This is what happens when you support policies without thinking they'll ever apply to you. Landry backed Donald, although he couldn't vote. He didn't have a problem with immigration crackdowns when it was someone else's family. I bet he was cheering when Mexican families were being torn apart. But now that it hit his doorstep, suddenly it's a problem. Call me mean, I don't care. You got what you supported. And on a related note, let's not forget, Landry lives in New Hampshire. Yeah, it's technically a blue state. Barely. But over 400,000 people there still voted for Donald. That's probably his wife, his friends, his in-laws. I mention this because I keep seeing people say, let some of these blue states join Canada. No, just because it's a blue state doesn't mean it's clean. There are Donald supporters everywhere, and I don't want them anywhere near our country. As for Landry, good luck getting back into the US, because if you don't want to be in Canada, we don't want you here either. If this video hit a nerve, hit like and subscribe to help get the message out. And if you're still watching, check out the next video showing up on your screen now. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.